In 3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, but today we are starting an action-filled month. What is the theme technically?
I don't know what it's called, but it was an action August, I think.
I think so.
Okay.
Let's see. Action August. Yes, that's exactly it.
Sounds good. So, what is the first film that you had us go out and watch, Brandon? I know it was one of your picks.
You know what's funny is I had a few other films like Commando and so on this. I had Commando and John Wick as like choices, but this is the one of mine that got chosen, which is the 2004 animated film Dead Leaves by director Hiroyuki Imaishi. I think Imaishi, yeah. But this is a slightly interesting romp of action about Pandian Retro, two individuals waking up with memory loss as they decide to go on a passionate, violent romp through the city, into space, and beyond as they try to figure out what's going on with their lost memories and who they are. So, with that being said, we've done a video on this before with this exact lineup.
Yes.
Where we paired this with Cat Soup, which actually is funny because we also did an individual video for Cat Soup not long ago. I think the last one that Dane was there for. But what were your first impressions of Dead Leaves, Dave?
My first impressions of this, the first time I watched this because you suggested it, and you ended up buying me a copy. And that was the first time I had watched it. Now I didn't know what to think of it then, and I still somewhat don't know what to think of it now. But that being said, I mean, having a jailbreak happen because a couple had sex, what the fuck? Yeah. It's like entertainment and porn decided to go on a crime spree.
Indeed. Well, we get somebody who actually probably hasn't seen the film. That's kind of cool.
But I thought it was entertaining. There was a lot going on, but seeing it a second time, I guess, kind of helped with some of the storyline. But yeah, I'd still say that that's kind of what I think of it. It's like entertainment and porn went on a crime spree.
So, Dustin, was this your first time watching Dead Leaves?
This is my first time hearing of Dead Leaves. I'm not really sure how to process this.
That's how I thought the first time.
I think storyline is a loose term in this case. Like, it's just... it was kind of just like a bunch of chaos with no real logic to it, which it was interesting. It's just kind of, I don't know. I feel like you have to be in a specific sort of mood to really love this. Like, it kind of reminded me of, there was a show on Adult Swim called Fooly Cooly, and it reminded me kind of a lot of that. Like, I wonder, like, were the same people involved with that, or?
Huh. Good question.
I think so. I'd have to double check the pedigree behind Fooly Cooly, but they're definitely the director on this
Gainax,
also directed. He worked for Gainax. He directed much of Gurren Lagann. He directed Promare. He worked on Evangelion. He worked on Kill la Kill. So yes, he worked on Fooly Cooly. There you can see some some of that.
Quick question: how long is Evangelion?
20 some episodes.
I think the first series was like 26 episodes, and then the movies that supposedly wrapped it up.
Yeah, four movies.
Well, you're talking about the original
Oh
story?
no, sorry, 2 movies wrapped it up.
There's 4 movies in the reboot.
Technically, if you want to avoid the series, you can just watch the 2 movies because Death and Rebirth is a recap of the entire first series.
Well, I need to see it, and like hearing it mentioned again here kind of reminded me. It's like, oh yeah, I need to do that.
Oh, it is definitely a mind. Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard like a negative thing about it. So.
Oh, it's good.
And I am. In terms of some of like the more wild anime stories, like, I mean, I did like Paranoia Agent when I saw that. I need to see it again, and I did like Fooly Cooly, and again, like I said earlier, I feel like I would have really enjoyed this if I was in a very different mood.
Well, I will actually explain the plot because I understood it this time around.
Same here. Dustin, were you on us for the Promare discussion? Or we did that on the anime channel, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Promare is another one by this director that's also balls to the wall action. But it's not quite as insane as this one.
No, I haven't heard of it.
But, well, thanks for coming on with us. It's good to have somebody who's fresh to it.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised like you and Jake have seen this before. I'm a little surprised Dave has.
Well, it was actually one of the first movies that Brandon had actually bought me a copy and sent it my way. So,
Okay.
I think he sent it to me as a birthday present, actually, like that the first year he knew me. So.
Yeah, we did a discussion that was this paired with Cat Soup for the strangest animations.
Makes sense.
So, well, actually, I guess we can get to Jake then. I know it's not your first time watching it.
Nope. No surprise. Another series this director is attached to his panty and stocking with garter belt.
Oh, yeah.
But no, as Brandon mentioned, I'm almost sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we heard of this one the same way we did Cat Soup, right? And it wasn't that one video of like the weirdest anime?
Yeah, because there was a video or article about like the top 10 strangest anime, which this director was behind a good portion of them because Magical Shopping Arcade, Abinabashi is on.
There were a few of them that it was kind of like, yeah, they're weird, but I've seen weirder. I mean,
Cat Soup was a top tier weird.
Cat Soup was the top 2 weird. In fact, the guy didn't even know how to describe it, and I thought that was quite amusing. But this one, I've never fully warmed to this one. This has maybe been my 3rd time seeing it. I think this was my first time seeing it in English because I don't know if there's a Japanese version on Tubi. I watched it on Tubi, and I think it was just the English. Was that what you saw, Dustin, when you went to put it on?
I know when I put it on, it was straight English because I used Tubi myself.
Yeah, I used Tubi too, and it was just in English. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really look, but
it's a little disappointing because Retro originally was played by Kappa Yamaguchi, who's a character actor that I'm quite fond of. He does a lot of fun voices. Takako Honda was the original Pandy, but in the English dub, we've got Amanda Wynn Lee as Pandy and Jackson Lee as Retro. It was, I thought, a pretty decent dub. It did its job. The translate, I don't remember. I'm not even going to pretend that I remember the original dialogue, but from what I remember of it, the translation was good. But I agree with Brandon that this time around there was more clarity to what the plot actually is. It is very, very, very simple and could probably be described in a sentence or two. but it's mostly an excuse for one insane set piece after another. I liked it a little more this time now that I feel like I know a little more of what's going on. And I'm also a little further down the rabbit hole of watching weird ass shit. This group that's kind of unavoidable. This is there's no two ways about it. This is a weird ass anime. It takes all the things that we've come to expect from Gainax and Trigger and all those. Strangely, this is technically a production IG anime, but it definitely shows the Gainax and Trigger influence, and it's weird.
But it was Evangelion too, really. But
was that
director? But Gainax was an Evangelion, so
yeah.
So yeah,
but yeah, I do. Well, this director worked on Eva, but he wasn't a director. He did like in between animation and some of that stuff.
So they connect. They connect.
Yes, and Gainax did in between on this. Like again, it was production IG, but they farm. All anime will farm some of the work out to other.
Oh, the guy who headed Gainax was weird.
Yeah, but It's an interesting one. It's short, which is kind of nice every now and then. And I don't know if I would say fully like the movie, but I appreciate it more than I did.
Oh, wait until next month, and then we'll do all of the In Search of movies.
I was telling Brad that when the two characters showed up naked, it kind of reminded me of the Terminator respawning.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I will say one more thing on Dave's comment about this. About you said it was like a marriage of porn and entertainment. Except they took out all the sexiness to it. Like there's a lot of nudity. There's definitely some sexual perversion in here, but you'd have to be really wired strangely to actually consider this porn.
It felt pretty safe, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that. I just mean like it's so exaggerated. The art is so exaggerated. It's so cartoony. It's
All right. Well, a few weeks ago I saw something called We Are the Flesh that did things that you're not normally allowed to do, like in a film, and so that felt like almost like a dangerous piece of filmmaking. It's like I don't know what this writer or director is capable of. Like I don't know what I'm about to see in the next scene. Like I am nervous, and with this one, it was just kind of like, there's some underboob, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah. This was, I thought this was an appropriate pick for Action August, as far as action is concerned. I don't think anybody would say that there's no action in this. I originally saw this the same way Jake did, was hearing about it through Weird Anime. And I like weird stuff. Especially like if I'm feeling down, I love to watch something that's totally off the wall because it's short circuits my brain a bit, and it just kind of brings me back into a better place. So I usually like to collect very strange titles. And Cat Soup beats this by like 50 miles by strangeness. But this one is a lot more fun in a lot of ways. I will say that this is one that benefits from repeat viewings, because the more I've seen it, the more I was able to understand what was going on, because I wasn't as overwhelmed by just all of the stimulation that was going on. There was just so much going on that I couldn't figure out a story. But after, I've seen that already, I'm able to now get an idea as to what was going on with the story. So it definitely benefited from multiple views. And I think I look at this as slightly more different than I did the first time I saw this. So it was kind of fun revisiting this again and fully understanding what the story was about. I even could see a lot of the kill la kill aspects in the warden's daughter. With her sitting up there at the space station and, doing that. You could see a lot of those aspects of what was to come. And maybe that's also something that's helped, because I've seen a lot more of stuff from Studio Trigger, stuff from Gainax after that. Still haven't seen Gurren Lagann yet, but, I know I'm a bad anime watcher.
Which I have seen that, but not Kill la Kill.
See, but you have it now.
Indeed.
And on DVD, so you can watch it on your computer. But
yeah, with all the time I have.
I know you've got like tons of it. But let's start this out. So we got Pandy and Retro, which are kind of nicknames that they gave each other because they just kind of woke up naked looking at each other. I was like, well, you look like you got an old TV on your head, so I'll call you Retro. It's like, oh, you look kind of like a panda with that eye, so we're going to call you Pandy. And they decide to do like, what most people decide to do when you wake up naked and don't know what's going on. They go on a murderous rampage throughout the city. And that works out about as much as you would expect it to work out. But what did y'all think about this first section, introducing them and then going straight to the killing?
Well, it was definitely chaos right off the bat. I mean, they decided to go for food and ran into some agents like from the Matrix or something like that, So
well, they activated the police when they were killing everybody.
Of course, then they natural born killered the damn thing. So it was like,
Yep.
I mean, I really don't blame the police for being called on them.
no, because they didn't start with clothes. They had to go get them first.
And they took what they wanted.
Yeah.
Shortly, at some point in there, I think I somewhat checked out because it's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit back and watch this because it feels like any attempt to follow it or make sense of it is kind of not the point of something like this.
Not for the first watch, if anything.
Right. Yeah.
But Pandy and Retro are not good people necessarily.
And when they get caught, it's kind of like a dragnet scene because then it's like they're thrown in jail, processed, and then sent off to the moon.
Yeah, the moon's all screwed up, and turns out they turned the moon into this prison colony.
Isn't the moon kind of fucked up? or something like that.
A little bit.
And they put them in these little like sacks and process them, basically taking them out of their cell, feeding them, and they've got one hole in the back where they defecate out of, and they're thrown back in their cell. And the warden and their people are not exactly nice to them. It's actually explained that a reason why is that it's a bunch of genetic defects. A lot of clones failed attempts at creating the ultimate weapons genetically. And so many of them were sentenced to labor here at this prison and further experimentation, and they're just kind of worthless. Including a guy who has a drill as a dick.
Yes.
So,
yes, which actually, I think that's like not necessarily drill as a dick, but a drill is one of this director's hallmarks. Like drill is a major plot device in Gurren Lagann. And if I recall correctly, it does feature in quite a few of the productions that he was involved in.
and it was an American Horror Story, that hotel one that they did.
Okay, I've heard I don't want to see that.
Oh, that's what turned me off of that season.
But and interestingly enough, of course, this couple who seem to be, well, maybe not a couple per se, but they're apparently male and female, and they clearly know each other and get along despite their memory issues. They're just thrown in the same cell together, and so naturally when you have two people like that who are in what amount to full body straitjackets, all sorts of shenanigans can and will happen.
So what did y'all think about this original prison thing?
That'd be a fucked up place to be.
Yeah, I almost wish that their straitjackets would have been cotton candy colors, so that maybe it would have been a send off to like Killer Clowns from Outer Space or some shit. But I could see that happening.
I kept hearing you try to say something, Dustin. What were you gonna say?
I said it was really bizarre. It was weird. Pretty much is what I said. But the pods kind of remind me of. Did anybody see like Dragon Ball Super or Resurrection F, where they show like Frieza in hell, just like in the cocoon? Yes. It reminded me of that a little bit.
Okay. I absolutely love their rendition of what Frieza's hell would be. That was great.
It's like cuddly animals dancing and like getting on his nerves. Like, what would you enjoy the least? It's like, yep, this is probably it.
Yeah.
Also, quick other kind of tie-in moment. Did anybody see Dragon Ball Superhero, where they play like archive footage of Trunks and Frieza's like battle on Earth, like when Trunks like slashes him up with a sword and blows him up? They show that they play the tape in like real time, and Trunks basically just blinks over to Frieza and he's already dead. Like it happens so quickly without like the slowed down like drama that they did in that episode of the show. It's extremely funny.
So as Jacob was saying, they do kind of figure it out that, yeah, you shouldn't have left that one hole in each of the outfits, because because Retro was able to figure out how to turn himself around to where he could have one thing out of the one hole, and of course he was able to utilize Pandies for them to make such passionate lovemaking that it frees them from their cell and wins the loyalty of all the failed clones in the prison.
Although, if I recall correctly, I think he had to make a couple of attempts.
Well, wrong hole first time, but, yeah. But it happened. They can be close together, those holes.
Gross.
But yeah, that was an odd moment throughout the whole. But they also kind of thought it was weird that they knew how to get out of the straitjackets and release the collars. But they do the same thing for all the other prisoners in the jail. And they decide to do a prison break.
Yep. And then they use the prisoners as cannon fodder.
And it's kind of balls to the walls action after that.
Yeah.
There's really not much to say about that other than the guards went up on them, then they went up on the guards, then the guards went up on them, and then they went up on the guards, and it's just a constant.
Well, you got to mention the two main guards, I guess you could say.
One looks similar to like X-Men's The Beast, except like with he is definitely larger in size and stuff like that. At least he reminded me of the Beast, you know.
I think they go by the names 666 and 777, basically.
They reminded me of like Yu Yu Hakusho demons, like from the later season when they were like in Demon World and showing off like more advanced, like powerful demons, they looked kind of like those guys.
Well,
They acted like demons.
the idea is that Pandy, Retro, and those two are kind of in the same vein because they were they were clones like the rest of them, but they were actually successes when it came to making those perfect weapons that they were looking for genetically. And so they're very similar in that, almost siblings. But you can kind of see it in how they all fight. But they're definitely much nastier than the rest of the guards. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking more so like the heavily exaggerated muscles and kind of overly dramatic shading.
Yeah, one of them was more tank-like, and the other one was much more agile.
Yeah, kind of like younger Tagoro sort of looking for the blue guy.
But they find a tank of their own to go in. And of course, they do also end up on the train as they go, which is there. So they go through a lot. Like I say, it's real easy to skip by set piece to set piece.
Right.
But essentially, they not only defeat them, but they come face to face with the warden's daughter, and who is related, of course, to Pandy and Retro.
Yeah.
And they find out that Pandy was also a part of that initial experiment, but some of the genetic core, it blew up, and part of it went into her eye, which is why her eye took that discoloration.
And it also made her very aware when the enemy was closer.
Yes, she could sense them.
And of course, with that top genetics, they were trying to get that from her eye, but then they realized that she was pregnant with a genetically superior being, thanks to Retro.
Yeah, a little plot device you kind of skipped over there. Yeah, that was one of the, I think probably the iconic image of this movie, messed up as it is, has to be the little hand coming out of her panties holding a gun.
Yes.
Well,
I really wasn't too surprised or bothered by that at that point. I was like, all right.
Because they have that epic
overly fast reproductive system.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have that epic super fight between them and basically the warden's daughter, as they basically fight the genetically superior beings. And it is a pretty epic showdown. Mm-hmm. And you find out, of course, that Pandy and Retro are actually spies that were cryogenically frozen
8 years before.
8 years before, which I believe the warden's daughter was also Pandy's daughter, if I remember correctly, or something like that. They were related in that sense.
Well, Pandy at least had helped in keeping, like, watching over her or something like that.
And
I think she was like a nanny or caretaker or something.
Yeah, that was the impression I got.
But they blow apart the prison, land back on Earth, and we're back at the beginning again. Maybe not as far at the beginning because they killed the bad guys, but
I thought it was going to loop around again and they wouldn't remember like what had happened after they crashed. And it was going to be like, this is what happened. We just saw it, but they have to like find out again.
But that was the whole of the plot. So anything else that y'all want to fill in plot-wise? The super being, of course, ages quickly and dies quickly, but
Yeah.
The caterpillar was pretty cool.
That was the whole thing that happened at the end with which was eating everything genetically.
Well, there was this story that factored into the plot. Like, Pandy remembered parts of it without remembering why. Ultimately, we find out that the warden's daughter had been very influenced by it. But it's something about the idea of the this caterpillar that was, I guess, very envious of the ants or whatever. And ultimately, that's kind of the form she ends up taking at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, this had a lot of so there's a lot of kind of tropes in anime with like kind of overdramatic, like serious, like speech analogies. I don't know how to really describe it, but I think you know like what I'm talking about, where somebody will start telling like a really like
Metaphoric.
yeah, somebody will use like a really heavy metaphor, and like they'll deliver it like it's like a Bible sermon or something. They seem to kind of play around with that idea a bit. It's like, you know, there's something about the ants and blah blah blah, and it's like this makes no sense, but it sounds like they know what they're talking about. That was some of the impressions I got with some of the more wordy dialogue. I don't know if that
Yeah,
makes
they
sense.
were trying to be meaningful while being distracting at the same time. So
I thought they were trying to make fun of like meaningfulness,
that could be.
which I appreciate.
You had quite a crowd of weird not aliens, clones out there. I mean, you have
Yeah, and one of them happened to be this weird, creepy-looking doctor dude that announced that Andy was pregnant.
And one of the plot devices that I thought was kind of odd and off was that they say that they pretty much plainly say that this is a prison for the clones who are defective, but there are also plenty of people there who were there for crimes that they've committed. Like the doctor is a good example because he had said he had basically misdiagnosed and mistreat people, and that led to some deaths.
Yeah.
Which could be a reference to Dr. Kevorkian. You never know.
Could be. But yeah, I mean, probably the bulk of them probably were there be for experimentation or whatever, but it is pretty clear that this is a penal colony. There definitely are a lot of criminals there. Yeah.
It was. I do think that the film format kind of rushed it a bit, so they had to kind of just move at a pace that was so breakneck that it was sometimes hard to catch your breath. And I wonder how this would have done plot wise if they'd broken it up into like a 12 episode series. Sort of like because I could see that like kill type thing.
Yeah, I can see that too.
But I think it's more over the top as a film.
Yeah, it is definitely over the top. That's for sure.
Oh, any other thoughts on the plot?
The series of connected incidents that happen. Okay, I shouldn't make so many jokes because this does have a much more coherent plot, but I had to have someone explain it to me. So
it's not one that you get the first time you watch it. It's one that you have to kind of, after all the craziness washes over you and then you get used to it the next time around, then you're like, oh, there's story.
That's what's happening, yeah. Which stuff like that can be pretty fun, and you know, this was kind of fun. So I think this probably did what it set out to do.
I am kind of sad that all the prisoners basically died. I kind of got to like some of them.
I think it's okay.
I think they did their purpose, whatever they were doing. As far as, I mean, a lot of them were just there to be background fodder.
The two main ones were, of course, the doctor and the guy with the drill. And there was the really super strong one. I believe he's the one who's sitting there You can see him up on the train picture in the background, who held the tank cannon for a good portion. But other than that, really and truly, most of the other characters kind of fell into the background.
Yeah, even the more like visually memorable like mutants, like after a point, like shortly after they die, you're kind of like, you don't miss them. Let's put it that way.
Well, half of them were criminals and deviants anyway.
Well, I mean, a lot of the thing moves along so quick. I suppose you don't really have a whole lot of time to miss some of them either. It's like from battle to battle, and it's like, oh, drill guy just died, and then they give you a hell of a lot more things to focus on, and you're like, was there a dude with a drill?
There was a moment where you thought that Retro died when they ripped his head off, or cut his head off, really. But then find out that his head can survive perfectly well without the body.
How am I alive? What is this? It's like, well, we're just rolling with it.
But other than that, I guess we can go into production design. I mean, you can definitely tell this was a Gainax venture. You can tell the style, the animation.
Yeah, sort of.
I mean, it's rough around the edges comparatively.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you can tell the action is there. There's definitely a balls to the walls action.
The animation is almost Picasso in style to me, with the various colors and the different positions that the various characters go into and come out of and stuff like that. And there's some definitely odd dialogue. But the production, I thought, was relatively fast-paced. It kept you on the edge of your seat while you could actually just sit back and watch the ride. And
right.
At least the second time, I could actually catch the storyline, whatever it was. So I was okay with it.
All right. Well, what about music?
I think there were a few pieces that I liked in there. It's kind of hard to pick them out because, again, this moves so fast. But like the battle music was good. So I kind of want to find a soundtrack for this.
I used to have it back.
Yeah.
I don't have it anymore, but I used to.
Hey, that means it's there.
The theme, the main track, Dead Leaves, the actual track called Dead Leaves, was actually a pretty cool background track. It definitely kept a good energy to it.
Yeah, it's good, solid music here. It didn't stick in my brain the way the music to Primari did, but it definitely fit the theme. It fit the feel and helped drive the action forward. And I guess that's probably what they wanted.
I also feel like this was kind of a rough, really kind of a rough start for a lot of the people there, moving into stuff that's much more action-packed in the future. I mean, shoot, this is this director's second effort. And second effort meaning he directed one episode of Magical Shopping Arcade Abinabashi prior to that. So, that's pretty impressive. This was his first feature that he directed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is a guy who also, if you want something more recent that he directed 10 episodes of Cyberpunk Edge Runners. And that's got a really good reputation. I've yet to see it, but I've heard that it's actually pretty good.
I haven't seen it either.
When you compare it to the source material.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think that was that series got a lot of people to try Cyberpunk 2077 again, after that abysmal launch back in 2020.
I think the problem with that game wasn't it only like 70% done when they had to release it to meet the deadline.
Yeah, it's practically done now, but the way I look at it is with the final DLC also comes a final patch that fixes a lot more stuff, and that's there. They said this is our final word on the game. I'm like, okay, I'll start it then. Fix the game for me fully, then I'll play it. But a lot of people say that the game is fun these days. Well, with that being said, I would like to think of this as just something kind of fun to watch. It's nothing like earth-shattering. Doesn't have super complex plots or overly beautiful visuals. It's just one of those no-brain, balls to the wall action set pieces that you can kind of just watch and just let the chaos flow over you and just kind of let your mind go for an hour or so.
Right.
But with that being said, I guess that is Dead Leaves.
Okay.
All
So,
right.
let's why don't we go into for favorites, favorite scene, and favorite character. Why don't we start with you, Jake? Favorite scene, favorite character.
Well, I mean, Pandy's pretty definitely my favorite character, although Retro is pretty fun, and he'd probably be a close second. Most of the characters, frankly, are as you said. I think you said earlier the phrase "cannon fodder." Most of them, there's really only a few notable ones. As far as favorite scenes, I probably will have to go with the burst scene. I mean, again, just that one hand already got a gun coming right. It's like, okay, well, clearly this is American being born here.
Well, by the time you get to that scene, it's like, it's not that weird.
And there were a couple other pretty fun moments too. But what was it? There was another one I was trying to think of, but I'm drawing a blank. So we'll go with that one. Yeah.
All right, Dustin, do you have a favorite scene, favorite character?
I liked the guards. I think the most. Like the introduction to them is they're just kind of like asleep at the wheel, like hitting buttons in the prison, and then when they actually have to do stuff, like they transform and get all serious looking. And I was like, oh, okay, you have my attention a bit better now. So that was kind of my highlight, plus like the battles with them. So I think I preferred the green one just because I like sharp objects. So
Well, he definitely had that. Shoot, at the end, I remember how Pandy ended up using basically his hand with the bone as the handle as her weapon, and Retro was using the drill tick as his weapon.
yeah, like I thought earlier somebody was like, I don't think that was a dick, and it's like it pretty obviously was. I mean,
Yes,
like stuff came out of the tip. Like, come on, man! Like they're hitting you over the head with it.
So how about you, Dave?
Well, there is a moment where they take those straight jacket sleeping bag things and take them to go feed. And there's this a moment where one of the guys, the security guard goes and like bitches at him for shitting too much, and for some reason that when he tells him he's going to kill him, I thought that was kind of cool. interesting. And then when they basically had sex and the other prisoners heard them through the walls, and they were able to get out of their handcuffs and straight jacket just by doing that. I thought that was interesting. And then of course, the continuing plot line where all of a sudden she's pregnant as fuck, you know. Those are some of my highlights. So.
Well, for me, favorite character is Drill Dick. I don't know. I just there's just something about him that's just he's got the charisma that all the ladies like. But oddly enough, I think my favorite part of this is the part where they're on the train initially, because it's moving at such a high speed pace. The train kind of slows it down briefly to let you catch your breath. And I feel that's an important, I realize now especially that's an important scene. It allows you kind of catch up in your head, understand a little bit more of the plot before they start going right back at it again. So that one's always fun. Of course, they discovered a Pandy's pregnant there. It's and of course, they found out that the store of alcohol was right next to the armory that they raided. So they'd also had their store of alcohol while they were doing it. So at least they died happy, I guess you could say. Well, that was the second time we have covered Dead Leaves. Not sure.
I'll say Retro was my favorite character, thinking back on it.
Retro can be fun. But I'll say that this one, I feel like we did do a little bit more this time around because I think that there was a lot more understanding of the plot this time around than when we first discussed it.
Right.
I think last time we were more going, ooh, this is weird. Oh, this is odd. Oh, this is weird.
Yeah, I don't think I really got it the first time. Definitely, but I'm glad that I have it in my collection. So
it's definitely a fun little action set piece that you can pop in every once in a while when you don't want to think a lot, and you can just sit back and watch just the good old ultra violence.
Alrighty. Well, why don't we go around and do our outros? Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I used to collect horror stuff around Milwaukee. I haven't been able to pick anything up for quite a while, but I'm working on fixing that. I have a horror YouTube channel where I show off the things I find and attempt to do a bit more advanced content, like reviews or just hey, here's something I found. I haven't really been able to find time to work on it just because of some other life stuff, but I'm considering maybe like opening a Patreon or something so I can kind of buy myself more time to do stuff there. I mean, I don't really expect to get a whole lot of like business that way, but I mean, anything would help me, make time for putting new stuff up. And I'm also on Instagram, the Crypt of Horrors, which is also the name of the YouTube channel. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. And I'm better at posting on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now as Cryptaxis, and I hang out there a lot. I'm Cryptaxis on Blue Sky, which I somehow got onto. And that's pretty much it.
Alrighty. Heading over to you, Jake. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm Kotobukijake. I am the co-host of SeptumSin versus the World on occasion. And we did do a video tonight where we have taken our nominations for the Versus Awards. We have compiled the data and we have released a video presenting the data to the world. And over the course of the next 5 4 weeks or so ish, we will be getting the actual votes together, and sometime in the end of September, I believe, if I remember correctly, we'll have our presentation of the 2023 Versus Awards for the films of 2022, and we do have some.
This is Rosie.
What's that?
Oh, it got one of my videos played in the background by mistake. The computer went haywire.
Oh, good times. Good times.
It's revolting. It's like the mutants.
Yes. They were kind of revolting, weren't they? No. But I, of course, keep very, very, very busy, probably more so than I should, with the job that pays the bills, but also the job that is my main love, which is a co-founder, and help run a native plant nursery, our VA homegrown natives. And but I do still try to find time for some viewing to join these fine folks for their weekly show. This weekly show, we're also working on an anime for the our channel, which I'm not making good time on that. But anyway, that's enough rambling. I need to probably get going soon because I am starting to ramble. But yeah, it was fun to hit this one again and to actually have more of a feeling that I actually understood it this time.
Alrighty, heading over to you, Brandon. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I run a channel called SeptumSin versus the World, which we actually just posted a video on about the Versus Awards, as Jake said. So, hey, you should watch it. We're working on content. Most of my time is spent working on, Amityville Webcam, which is a movie I'm making. And we just filmed some scenes for it today. We are actually very close to getting done with filming. I'd say if I can nail down at least one particular actor, I can get one cut of the film's filming all the way done, and then all it'll be is just one more long run of filming, and I'll have the filming done. Then the long process of editing gets to begin.
Don't you mean if you can hook them?
Yes. If I can make that catch. But otherwise, unfortunately, a lot of stuff is on hiatus. Schlockaholics is on hiatus until September because we've had some scheduling conflicts, but that should clear up after that. I know for general, it's we were very active. Unfortunately, not a lot of the activity is viewable. Oh, and I did do a recent episode of the Anhedenia project for the last broadcast, and that was fun. Dave actually is the person who will be leading us on the next week's discussion, which is a slightly slower movie than this one, which is funny, actually.
Actually, I believe the next one is Lethal Weapon, which is hers.
I thought it was Crank.
Nope. You posted... it was Dead Leaves, Lethal Weapon, Crank, then Baby Driver.
Well, then a much lower action level than this one.
All right.
So, so that was our Dead Leaves discussion. Hopefully, you ladies and gentlemen out there who have been following along with us can let us know down in the comments what you thought of our discussion and what you thought of the movie. And we'll definitely be back next week with some Um, some cool action flicks or flick. And our good friend Boris, he's going off to a festival with a friend, so we decided to take a little hiatus from the other show, which is Delusions of Grandeur, which is my other channel, which I moonlight on, where I do video pickups and video reviews. My name is David Streggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So check our channels out, and hopefully y'all have a good night. So everyone say good night.
Good night.
Oyasumi nasai.
Good night.